really funny because she was a fan of our show. So as soon as she saw me, she came up and she was screaming. She was like, I can't believe I'm actually hugging you right now. She's a really big pop star, and I didn't think that she would even know who I was.
This is the first time you've been on the show many times, but this is the first time you're you.
And I have real hair.
Real hair, real clothes. You're not kind of half naked.
People didn't like the video, Elastic Heart.
It was gross because we were dirty and I had to bite his dirty hands. I kept handing him the shot. He's like, I don't need them. Yes, you do. You need them.
So, Sia releases this movie about an autistic character. Let's see who the main character is. What autistic actor did you hire? Then you get the trailer, and it is Maddie Ziegler.
And she just burst into tears and she just said, I don't want anyone to think that I'm making fun of them. I was like, I promise I won't let that happen. I actually just keep writing projects for her so that I can keep her safe.
Now, the other day, I was watching Dance Moms clips on TikTok because JoJo Siwa posted saying she regrets nothing. And I was instantly fed a non-stop feed of Maddie Ziegler's lowest points on the hit reality television show. Now, a lot of you may already know about the intense nature of competitive children's dance and the borderline abusive nature of the hit Lifetime Star Factory. But today, I'm talking about a completely different type of facilitated from the Dance Moms platform. I'm gonna be diving deep into one of the most bizarre, alarming, and in my opinion, predatory relationships that sprouted from the worldwide reality television phenomenon. Sia's relationship with Maddie Ziegler, just how Sia selected Maddie to star in her most controversial music video to date, how Maddie and her mother left all trust in Sia, only for her to feed them to the wolves through one of the worst scripts ever written, and just how a trusted adult celebrity mentor led a young Maddie Ziegler completely astray and effectively ruined the young star's career before it even had a chance to begin. This episode of Chaotic Web is sponsored by Scentbird. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service that gives every individual the power to express themselves through my personal favorite thing, fragrance, and to leave a true impression where it matters the most. Now, I am a huge perfume lover and collector. Thinking about choosing a perfume every morning, spritzing it, and changing into an entirely new person is the only thing that gets me out of bed. And I was in need of a new way to try scents at a more affordable price. Well, for $17 a month, you get to pick a designer scent from brands like Prada and Versace, plus niche and indie brands as well. With each fragrance, you get a 30-day supply, so you can really test it out before committing to a full-size bottle. And y'all, some bottles can be upwards of $500. This month, I received Goutal et Dehydrant in a super cute blue case. It's a citrus unisex scent with a woody dry down, perfect for when you want to show out. I also received French Leather by Memo, which is a leathery luxe fragrance. It's super fresh and spicy, and the Harmonist came in a white case and has a subtle, smooth cedar fragrance with hints of mandarin, which is just so refreshing and perfect for spring. So you can start to deepen your relationship with fragrances by using my coupon code DEEPDIVE for 55% off at Scentbird. It's just a little over $7 for your first month, and it's available in the USA and Canada. Anyway, thank you so much to Scentbird for supporting our channel by sponsoring us. Now, let's start at the beginning. Maddie Ziegler joined Abby Lee Miller's dance company at only 4 years old, and by 7, she was already earning national titles and appearing on Paula Abdul's dance competition show. In 2011, however, Maddie's life would change forever. See, Abby Lee Miller had been in talks with Lifetime to bring the drama and quarrels of the mothers behind the scenes to the forefront of the small screen. In an all-new TV show on Lifetime, they were titling Dance Moms. It made absolute sense for Maddie and her mother to appear on the show, as Maddie was one of the best dancers in Abby Lee's entire company, and Abby in general always favored her. Now, with the premiere of Dance Moms, what audiences were treated to was beyond their wildest imaginations. Young girls being berated in very public settings by their mothers and other mothers alike, all in the spirit of competitive dance. The show Dance Moms really took the curtain down and showed the world what it was like to be a family that competes in children's competitive dance. How grueling, precise, and difficult to manage the extracurricular activity truly was. The show was an instant hit, and Maddie and the other girls immediately began blowing up as huge stars. Not only for their talents, but for their intense mothers' combative ways. Now, this TV show was extremely popular and caught the attention of tons of celebrities who would actually end up appearing on the show. One of these such celebrities was the elusive and mysterious songwriter, Sia. Now, Sia is one of the most talented, accomplished, and critically acclaimed songwriters the world has ever seen. From her unique take on chord progression to her enchanting and whimsical descriptions that truly paint a complete scene and story for any particular song. Sia has been creating worldwide chart-topping hits for the past 2 decades. Whether you know her from her collaborations with French DJ David Guetta or her own solo projects. By 2023, Sia has most likely crossed your radar as an elusive and mysterious pop star who most notably covers her face. Sia somewhat rejects fame and always has, but it hasn't always been so extreme. In her early days, Sia displayed her face prominently in her work, gaining her first taste at success in 2005 when her 2003 song Breathe Me was used as the ending for the cult classic TV show 6 Feet Under. This caused the song to gain moderate success, and Sia's career was on the upswing. The same, however, couldn't be said for her personal life. Uncomfortable in the spotlight, Sia relied heavily on alcohol to get her through live shows whilst on her US tour, and later became addicted to antidepressants and pain medication, including Xanax and Oxycontin, after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Over the next 5 years, Sia's career was riddled with substances and heartbreak. When Breathe Me became a moderate success for her in 2005, she said it never stopped her suicidal thoughts. Sadly, her battle with alcoholism and depression intensified after her boyfriend was hit by a taxi driver and killed just days before she was due to visit him in London. 2 months before her September 2010 suicide attempt, Sia phoned her dealer and ordered 2 of everything, except me and here. She planned to check herself into a hotel and take all the pills she had, writing letters to both the maid and the hotel manager that read, "Please do not come in. I am inside. Please call an ambulance." Fortunately, an old friend called her before she went through with anything. Sia stating, "There must have been part of me that really wanted to live, because in that moment, I thought there's a world out there and I'm not a part of it, but I might like to be." She left in instructions for her dog walker and the hotel manager, writing, "I've killed myself and I don't want you to have to suffer. Seeing my body." According to Complex, Sia said she tried to cure herself by taking 22 Valium and drinking a whole bottle of vodka. Sia stating, "Unfortunately, you can only commit sleep on Valium." Or should I say fortunately? Sia paints the picture of fame like a prison, explaining, "It's horrible. I just wanted to have a private life. Once, as my friend was telling me they had cancer, someone came up and asked, in the middle of the conversation, if they could take a photograph with me." Thus, Sia was never interested in the traditional celebrity lifestyle and actively rejected it. By 2010, Sia had released her 5th studio album under her own name and, more importantly, face. But she wanted more. So in 2010, Sia would put her solo career on hold. Instead, Sia decided to harness the skill of writing her own songs and put that skill to use for other artists. Beginning with Alicia Keys and David Guetta, Sia would send a demo of a song she wrote for them called Titanium. However, Alicia Keys would never actually record the song, so David just released the song with Sia's original demo vocals over the top. Neither Sia nor David knew how ginormous this song would become and currently be to this day.
The concept, the lyrical concept came from Sia. You know, Sia was doing some super indie music. She was at a point of her life that she didn't want to be an artist anymore. And she just wanted to do songwriting because she didn't want to have this lifestyle, the touring, the promo, all of this. She was respected in some areas of the world, but she was not super famous. And then Titanium, she came with those insane lyrics. I'm not giving this record to anyone, and I'm keeping this record for myself. And conclusion number 2, please stay on the record because I already know no one can beat this. I really had to beg her and almost force her. And you know, she was like, "No, I don't want this." So we agreed on, yes, she's gonna stay on the record, but she will not do any promo. She will not do any interview. She will not be in the video. And she will not have to tour or support the record in any way because all she wants is write songs stay home and have a quiet life. It's really funny when you think about it and what became her career after that.
Titanium grew into an international smash hit for David and Sia alike, and immediately put Sia into an entirely different stratosphere. Sia was now very quickly amassing an extremely impressive roster of collaborators, writing some of the most prolific pop songs of all time over the course of the next 3 years. It was clear Sia was a visionary. And with all the songwriting credits she was amassing, Sia's name was the name on every producer's lips. And with smash hits like Diamonds, Pretty Hurts, and Perfume, it was no wonder why. This is when Sia would begin her mysterious descent into privacy and obscurity. What the public didn't know is these clips were some of the final times they would see Sia's unobstructed face ever again, at least for many, many years. So it's 2011. Sia's finally living her dream in lucrative obscurity like she had always dreamed of, and she completely withdrew from public life. This gave her the best of both worlds as she was able to remain somewhat private and still create music for the masses. As the days turned into weeks and weeks turned into years, Sia gained more and more popularity. Thus, there was a vested interest from record labels in Sia's own personal music career. However, Sia was enjoying creating music in private, not having to be blinded by the spotlight 24/7. That's when she conjured up the concept of a somewhat anonymous approach to pop music. Much like the DJs of the early 2000s, Sia's new persona would completely evade the need for a public image, and instead would rely on heavily covering her own face in the most shocking way possible, often having her bangs cover her eyes, quite often adorned with multiple headpieces and fascinators. However, this is when Sia would enlist the help of a young 12-year-old Maddie Ziegler to help launch her new image. See, Sia is a reality TV superfan.
Because I watch television almost incessantly. I sleep about 7, 8 to 10, 12 sometimes hours, but all the rest of the time I'm watching television. I rarely leave the house even before quarantine. Even
gifting someone on Survivor thousands of dollars for keeping a chicken alive during the entire season. So needless to say, the woman is glued to her TV. And in 2014, one of the biggest shows on Lifetime was Dance Moms, and Sia was clearly a huge fan. Sia would go as far as to contact the mothers of one of the young girls on the show to appear in her chandelier video in lieu of herself, publicly tweeting at Maddie Ziegler at DanceMom1313. Hey Maddie, you want to play me in the video for my new single?
I was watching Dance Moms and I saw Maddie and I thought she was incredible. I cried when I watched something that she did. And I thought if I can cry watching a kid do that kind of choreography that's highly commercial, then she must have something special.
This absolutely blew up, and fans were really shook when it actually came to fruition. Chandelier became a certified hit, and the video was racking up millions and millions of views.
Never thought that it would be so big, and it was, and every day it got like 1 million views, like more and more and more. And I was, whoa, this is crazy. And celebrities were starting to notice me, and I'm like, I just can't believe it's happening to me. I'm like, I don't know, it's like flashing right before my eyes.
I've gotten so many more opportunities from this, and just because of it, everyone now, when I go on the streets, everyone's always, stopping me to ask for a picture or an autograph.
And one of the show's biggest fans just so happens to be Sia.
It's really funny because she was a fan of our show. So as soon as she saw me, she came up and she was screaming. She was like, I can't believe I'm actually hugging you right now. And it was just so funny because, she's a really big pop star and I didn't think that she would even know who I was.
And now everyone knows who Maddie is, including Ellen.
This is the first time you've been on the show many times, but this is the first time you're you.
And I have real hair.
Real hair, real clothes. You're not kind of half naked and stuff or looking like you're naked.
Right, yeah.
You're amazing.
I was 11 years old, and then she was a fan of the show that I used to be on, and then she just contacted.
What's the show you were on?
Dance Moms.
Right.
And she just tweeted me from there. And she was just like, hey, she said to my mom, I want to get in contact with your daughter. I want her to be in my video. And at the time, I didn't really know who Sia was as much as I do, obviously, now.
Right.
because I was still young and she didn't show her face, and so I didn't really have a big understanding of who she was. And then yeah, I thought I was going to be swinging from a chandelier. I had no clue what I was doing, and I had no expectations walking in, and like I literally thought I was going to be a background dancer and there would be other girls in the video too.
Yeah.
And I thought Sia would be in the video.
Right.
And then it was like just me, and I was like,
you.
feel the pressure. Wow.
Yeah.
Sia had a new album coming and another new single called Elastic Heart. And this is when she would take everything a step further and enlist troubled star Shia LaBeouf to appear in the video again alongside Maddie. What came of this was Sia's most controversial music video to date.
I've never danced with a much older guy like that before, and it wasn't like we were actually dancing together because we were like fighting each other, we were battling, we weren't really like together during it.
Maddie figured her cage dance with Shia would create buzz, but not like this. Sia tweeted, quote, "I anticipated some your cries for this video. My intention was to create some emotional content, not to upset anybody."
I'm supposed to be portraying a werewolf, and pretty much Shia and I have been just living in the cage for like a year, and I'm the strong one, and I'm trying to pretty much him. Every time between takes, they would come and say, "You need to be more aggressive. You need to bite him harder. You need to slap him harder." And I'm like, I can't. I don't want to slap someone. That's like scary. And Shia kept saying, "No, you need to hit me as hard as you can. It's not real until you hit me as hard as you can."
Ryan had worked with Shia before on a Sigur Rós video, and he had heard that I was a big fan, so he said, "I think I can put you in touch with him."
We sat in a coffee shop, and she basically walked me through what her trilogy idea is, and I was walking her through sort of what my auxiliary art stuff was. And Sia probably picked me because I think she identifies with some aspect of my personality, in that both push boundaries a bit, and I think we're in this middle ground between pop and something else. I also believe in like the healing power of art. So her work is very cathartic. You listen to the album, it's just like reading a diary.
We thought it would be interesting if he's working with Maddie as if she is one of his self-states, maybe an inner child, or maybe like one of his demons, or that we switch between her representing some of his self-states. It should be play. I'm lucky because I can afford to play around, and sometimes that works.
Like, you know, being here to make art is some sort of redemptive thing for myself, and for me, I mean, it's completely selfish. I'm here all for selfish reasons. I don't care if nobody ever sees the video. You know, it's a completely cathartic thing being here.
It's genius, and it creates controversy. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, you're talking about it. And to me, that's success.
But Shia's hygiene had to be kept in check during filming.
It was gross because we were dirty and I had to bite his dirty hands. I was so dirty, I kept wiping myself off, and I kept handing them to Shia. He's like, "I don't need them." I'm like, "Yes, you do. You need them." I brought like perfume and everything. I didn't want to smell. And he was like, "Oh, I'm totally fine with that. I don't care." I'm like, "No, you." He's like, "Then what should I bring?" I'm like, "A towel, a change of clothes, and a lot of baby wipes." And he did. He actually listened to me. So I was like, "I'm sorry, but it's really dirty."
It kind of scared me a little bit because he was like screaming and getting into character. I was like, I was like trying to start a conversation. I was like, "Do you always do this?" And he was like doing push-ups on his knuckles and running around the cage.
Sia is speaking out following FKA Twigs' lawsuit against ex-boyfriend Shia LaBeouf. The Chandelier singer supported her fellow music star in a pair of tweets over the weekend, calling FKA Twigs courageous for coming forward and also claiming that she had her own negative experience with the actor, writing, "I too have been hurt emotionally by Shia, a pathological liar who conned me into an adulterous relationship claiming to be single. I believe he's very sick and have compassion for him and his victims. Just know, if you love yourself, stay safe, stay away." Sia and LaBeouf worked together when he co-starred in the music video for her 2015 song Elastic Heart.
I'm nervous because this video is people had a lot of things to say about this video. He was naked for a second, that freaked me out. That's what everyone thinks.
Why is he wrestling with a little girl?
Okay, I'm playing a wolf. That's what I was portraying in this music video, and people don't know that, and that's why I'm like growling and hissing, and we're kind of fighting during this whole thing. So it's not like we're wrestling. It's really hard to explain. People did not expect this collaboration to happen. Like, why would Sia, Maddie, and Shia be doing a video together? I honestly was confused at first, like why she would bring in a non-dancer, but like now seeing it, I couldn't picture it with anyone else.
Please tell me they're not. Don't kiss. That'd be weird.
Okay, they have dirty minds. There was a lot of controversy about the age or about the outfits, but we were honestly just trying to convey the message and like show dance through art, and it was nothing more than that.
What are your thoughts about the music video?
Made me feel violated. Like, this little girl's dancing around with this grown man.
I shot this when I was, I think, 11 or 12, and I didn't find it weird at all, only because, first of all, Shia is an amazing actor, and I've always looked up to him, and so getting to do a music video with him and him dancing with me was, like, so amazing. It was a great experience because of how method he was. That was probably the most controversial video we put out with Sia. Being 12 years old and having that video out, I didn't really understand what all the backlash was about. I was like, I'm literally just dancing, acting with Shia, and we're having an amazing time together.
Now, this was such a gigantic issue. The other mothers from Abby Lee's dance company raised the issues with Maddie's mother on the show.
In season 5, I did 2 more Sia videos for Elastic Heart and for Big Girls Cry.
Do you think you're done with the Sia music videos?
I definitely want to do more Sia videos, and I'm pretty sure she has a lot more songs, so we can do more.
Maddie's like a full-fledged star now. She has over 3 million Instagram followers. She has over 1 billion views on all the Sia videos. And with fame, there comes controversy, you know, and some people didn't like the video, Elastic Heart, with Sia and Maddie, and it was amazing. It was such a work of art. And I'm so glad that she did it. I don't regret that she did it. And
at the time, I had no clue that there would be any controversy because I'm 12 years old, first of all. Second of all, I'm a dancer, I'm an actress, and he's acting. It's not like anything was happening. We're just acting.
Yeah, and they're buddies. I mean, I think that with any celebrity or anybody in the public eye, people are going to try to knock you down. And it's unfortunate that's what the business is like, but you just can't let the haters hate, just like Taylor Swift says. Yeah. I mean, really, there's always going to be hate, and not everyone's going to like you, but they're talking about you, so that's all that matters.
Yep. I think that Elastic Heart is when I figured out how to really, really act because Shia influenced me.
I just think she was here and now she's up here, and they have something coming up, hopefully.
Not hopefully, it's happening.
Yeah.
This would quickly spiral into an absolutely inappropriate relationship between a 39-year-old Sia and a 12-year-old Maddie Ziegler. Sia even getting Maddie's mother's permission to become her official godmother.
Is that how Sia got hooked up with you?
Yeah, I started when I was, I think I just turned 8, and then she watched the show religiously. And then she tweeted me and was like, I want you in my music video. And at the time, I didn't really know who she was. But then we did the video, and I didn't expect the outcome, and now it's just...
I mean, yeah, I mean, well, this is you from the video Chandelier.
I know, I look like a different person. I mean, that video changed my life forever.
You've become friends with her? Like?
Yeah, she is the best person in my life. She really is. She's, I think, my godmom now.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like officially or just for fun?
Yeah. So if anything were to happen, she would take me, which is really cool. And we just... The day we met, we clicked, and we knew that it was a special connection. And
she's so great.
She's the greatest.
She's your adopted godmother?
Yeah, she is. She's like my godmother. We have the best time ever. The day I met her, we clicked, and since then, it's like literally history. And now we're inseparable. Like, we literally spend all the time, so much time together, and she's really the most inspiring woman I know.
Maddie would embark on several performances with Sia. The news writing at the time, in the past year, Ziegler's partnership with Sia has launched into her pop superstardom. In recent months, she has performed on Saturday Night Live, Ellen, and at the Grammys. Maddie saying, Kim and Kanye were right in the front. I was freaking out that they were watching me dance. Ziegler also performed live at the Hollywood Bowl with Sia. The article stating she was mesmerizing, a tiny elf pirouetting across the huge stage in her platinum blonde wig and flesh-colored leotard, while Sia, back turned to the audience, belted out her hit, Chandelier. Maddie saying, that was probably the biggest crowd I've ever danced in front of. I still get nervous. I'm a perfectionist. So I always want everything to be great. Her mother, Melissa Ziegler, pops in and out of the office, divided between chaperoning Maddie and taking care of Mackenzie. The 39-year-old, who chooses to hide her fame behind masks and wigs, has stated that she finds fame horrible, and she wants to, quote, be invisible. Maddie Ziegler's role is to play, quote, a state of the singer and emulate her appearance in a blonde bobbed wig. All the fame that Sia would have received from those videos was now being directed and even amplified toward a 12-year-old Maddie Ziegler. Fame was her prison, and she made sure to bring an ever so excited Maddie Ziegler right into the prison cell with her. This is where things would get even more bizarre. Sia actually hired a group of 24-hour security detail for Maddie to be watched at all times, telling SiriusXM, quote, I provide her 24-hour security because I feel responsible for her ensuing fame. But security wasn't the only thing Sia would be purchasing for Maddie. She even gifted Maddie her first car at the age of 16 years old, and seemingly continuously showers her in presents. This is where even more red flags would be flagrantly left in the open, as Sia would release a third video called Big Girls Cry, where a press release with Stuff magazine included multiple alarming quotes. The article stating, Sia always makes sure Ziegler is completely comfortable with the content. She says, if it's ever too much for you, you have to say you can't handle it. Okay, so Maddie Ziegler has to say she can't handle something if she says she's uncomfortable with something. I don't think that's a good rhetoric, because in the dance world and dance moms and stuff, they're told they can handle anything and do anything, and winning is the only option, and it's super competitive, and Maddie was one of the most competitive girls on that show, so to make her admit when she's uncomfortable that she can't handle something, that's a lot to put on a 12-year-old. Anyway, the article continues on, trying to absolve Sia. They say, if anything, Sia tries to make Ziegler even more childlike, telling her not to wear makeup. Maddie saying, one time I had fake nails on, and she said, you have to cut those. Now the article continues saying is Maddie loves going to the musician's house to play with her dogs. And finally, Maddie's mother comes in saying they're like sisters. I love how they snuggle together. To be honest, it just gets worse, so buckle up. Basically, this article ends teasing the next step in Maddie's career, and it would be the downfall of not only Sia's reputation, but Maddie Ziegler's as well. See, Maddie told Stuff that her ambition is to become a, quote, real actress, ending the article with a quote saying, but I'm also doing a lot of acting and singing. I definitely want to be a triple threat. But the only thing Maddie would become a triple threat to was herself. Unfortunately, for a 14-year-old Maddie Ziegler, just as she was venturing into acting, Sia was venturing into directing. However, there was a major, glaring flaw in the film's main premise. The main character for the film Sia had created was an autistic girl that she wanted to be played by Maddie Ziegler.
So she plays a special needs child who...
Someone on the autism spectrum who's quite low functioning, but she's non-verbal. She has a little echolalia, which means that she can repeat what you say to her, but she doesn't generate her own language.
Now, Maddie Ziegler was openly neurotypical, so Sia was pretty much setting up the most uncomfortable hour and 45 minutes of our natural-born lives. When Sia originally announced her directorial debut in 2015, the film was intended to be non-musical, with a budget of $4 million. But once the film was pitched instead as a musical, the budget was increased to $16 million, as that was very on brand for Sia and caused much more public interest. It even caught the attention of controversial and troubling organization Autism Speaks, who Sia would consult throughout the creation of her new film that she would title Music. The movie begins with a young Maddie Ziegler, who was only 14 at the time of recording, dancing around colorful walls, portraying a non-verbal autistic teenager named Music, in a fantastical dream sequence. During the course of the entire film, the characters will randomly switch in and out of reality, from dealing with their real-life hardships to sauntering through whimsical dance scenes, all taking place in the imagination of the main character, who's named after the title of the movie, Music. Starring in the movie alongside Maddie is Kate Hudson, sporting a shaved head and a t-shirt that reads, "I'm not old, I'm a recycled teenager." Leslie Odom Jr. from Hamilton is depicted as Kate Hudson's love interest, who helps her to care for her younger disabled sister after their mother passed away. After spending years working on the project, the backlash that Sia received was more immense than she could have ever anticipated.
Sia's responding to a backlash she is getting after the teaser was released for a film she directed called Music. Sia cast her muse, Maddie Ziegler, as someone on the autism spectrum. The autism community is slamming her for not casting someone who actually has autism. I think if it's for change, she should have hired someone that was autistic, and I think she should have worked harder to find that right person. But at the same time, you create a movie that's going to speak on so many levels that you're putting out a story about someone who is autistic. So
Sia's controversial film Music is nominated for Best International Flopperoonie. I don't want to get into it, guys, but it's real problematic. And Twitter is saying it's the most offensive casting since Kate Hudson was the Weight Watchers spokesperson.
If you're making a movie about someone who's autistic for the autistic community, you should kind of be open to what the autistic community has to say about it. So Sia releases this movie about an autistic character. And so the first thing that a lot of us thought was, oh my God, how cool. Well, we really need some autistic representation, considering everything else that's in the media. So let's see who the main character is. What autistic actor did you hire to be this character? There are tons of autistic actors out there. I wonder, is this a new autistic actor that we haven't really heard of yet? Then you get the trailer, and it is Maddie Ziegler, who is not autistic. It's called acting, Paige. Okay, if you think that someone who's not autistic can act autistic better than someone who is autistic, you're wrong. And also, you can't act autistic without making it look like a mockery, especially with the kinds of things that Music, the character, struggles with. You cannot portray that falsely and make it not look like a mockery. And also, if you're saying that anyone can act autistic, it's just acting, you need to recognize your own ableism there. And why you think that autistics are not good enough at being autistic on their own, that they need to fit your level of what autism looks like, and they need to perform to what you know. That's not true, and you need to rethink that.
The film was allegedly intended to be uplifting and educational, but completely missed the mark. And virtually no actual autistic people agreed that the messaging was on point. Namely, many were upset that the autistic lead character was played by neurotypical Dance Mom star Maddie Ziegler. Instances where non-autistic actors played autistic characters have, of course, received criticism in the past.
When I brought this up on my TikTok, a lot of people were saying, what about Good Doctor? Yes. What about What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Oh, yes. Name some more. Like, we weren't happy with any of those.
And this film was no exception. Sia herself claims that in short, the movie can be described as Rain Man the musical, but with girls. Now, as the backlash began, Sia seemed to already see the warning signs flashing in her rearview mirror, because this movie was not being received as she had hoped, stating the movie is both a love letter to caregivers and to the autism community. I have my own unique view of the community and felt it is underrepresented and compelled to make it. If that makes me I'm but my intentions are awesome. Unfortunately, the road to hell would be paved with good intentions. As when called out on the entirely tone-deaf casting approach, Sia responded to the criticism on Twitter by saying, I actually tried working with a beautiful young girl, nonverbal on the spectrum, and she found it unpleasant and stressful. So that's why I cast Maddie. I've never referred to Music as disabled. Special abilities is what I've always said, and casting someone at her level of functioning was cruel, not kind, so I made the executive decision that we would do our best to lovingly represent the community. But what Sia was quickly finding out was the community felt the exact opposite. Now, Sia pretty much exclusively works with only Maddie Ziegler, even saying she can't do a project without Maddie, and she wouldn't even make art if it didn't include her. Now, another major issue people had with the movie was the way in which the film depicted methods of de-escalation during the main character's meltdowns. In one of the earliest scenes in the movie, Leslie Odom Jr.'s character wrestles her to the ground and smothers her with his entire body weight, a highly controversial de-escalation tactic which is used throughout the movie. Now, these scenes are so triggering that even during the filming, Maddie allegedly broke down in tears as she felt she was making fun of people on the spectrum. But her trusted adult mentor, Sia, reassured her that she would never let that happen.
It was the first rehearsal and Kate was a little bit late and Maddie arrived, and she was living across the road from me at the time, and I could see something was wrong with her. She was pale and she was just unlike herself, and I'd known her since she was 11 and she was 14 now. And I was like, honey, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? And she just burst into tears and she just said, I don't want anyone to think that I'm making fun of them. And I was like, oh, honey, like, I won't let that happen. I was like, I promise I won't let that happen. And your character is based on a real person that I know, and I'm teaching you all of his utterances and all of his tics, and as accurate representation as that I know. And also you can have Final Cut. I said, if there's anything in there that makes you feel uncomfortable, then you can have Final Cut.
Now, using these grandiose scenes of de-escalation techniques was a major point of criticism, as according to doctors, this method should only be used in the case of individuals who pose an immediate physical threat to themselves or others. This technique is extremely restricting and has even proven to be fatal in some cases, including a tragic incident that occurred in 2018, in which a 13-year-old autistic boy suffocated after being restrained on the ground by teaching staff during a meltdown. Now, Sia took notice of these complaints and took to Twitter, stating music in no way condones or recommends the use of restraints on autistic people. There are autistic occupational therapists that specialize in sensory processing who can be consulted to explain safe ways to provide proprioceptive, deep pressure feedback to help with meltdown safety, following it with a separate tweet, simply saying, I'm sorry. However, this was one of her kinder responses to the criticism she was met with on Twitter. A Twitter user named Helen tweeted to her, several autistic actors, myself included, responded to these tweets. We all said we could have acted in it on short notice. These excuses are just that, excuses. The fact of the matter is zero effort was made to include anyone who is actually autistic. Hashtag nothing about us without us. To which Sia bitterly replied, maybe you're just a bad actor. She would also go on to tweet, grr, why don't you go watch my film before you judge it? Now, a Danish advocate for autism named Nina Skov Jensen would even start a petition for the Golden Globes to rescind their nominations for the film, and garnered over 100,000 signatures. Nina told the news, I didn't feel anything while I watched it, except strong discomfort from the strobe lights, colors, patterns, and the fast camera movement. I just felt empty inside. I cried the day after when it all hit me. The way the stims and movements are mimicked is very hurtful to watch, as it is done very mechanically and by a non-autistic individual. This is the same way we have been bullied and mocked our entire lives. Now, when Sia was asked if she actually did any research at all for the film, she replied saying she had 2 people on the spectrum advising her at all times, and even cited the highly controversial organization Autism Speaks. When people explained to her the nature of Autism Speaks' ways, Sia responded, saying Autism Speaks came on board long after the film was finished. 4 years, in fact. I had no idea it was such a polarizing group. However, Autism Speaks would then speak out against Sia, tweeting that Autism Speaks was not involved in the casting or production of the film music. Representation matters, and we believe autistic actors should always be given opportunities to play autistic characters. Now, where was Maddie Ziegler during all of this? When asked by The Independent about Sia's comments, she said, I've actually stayed out of all of it because it's a lot of pressure. I understand why people would want someone who's actually on the spectrum with autism to play this character. But in terms of the dance sequences, I think that's why Sia chose me, to bring the dream world to life. It was all made with good intentions and with a good heart. I felt so much responsibility, but I felt I was capable. I knew going into this that people were going to love or hate it. And it's safe to say people did hate this movie. The Independent article details that Maddie studied Leonardo DiCaprio's character in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and YouTube videos of people on the spectrum as well. Maddie chiming in that she'd get in her head at times and say she was going to try and replicate, quote, those mannerisms and those tics. She continued saying, but then I started watching each video and I realized each single person is so special in their own way. That's how Sia and I came up with music. her mannerisms, and her own thing going on. The interviewer then noted that Maddie sounded genuine, but that was the kind of wide-eyed naivety that suggested that Maddie wasn't the best actress for the role. Now, during this nonstop backlash and vitriol, Sia deactivated her Twitter account, evading any criticism. All while Maddie Ziegler's Twitter was being destroyed by the replies. And she would later tell the New York Times, "I was suicidal and relapsed and went to rehab." Maddie Ziegler, a young dancer with dreams of making it big, made it spectacularly huge. But at what cost? Someone who had approached her as a life guide had done the exact opposite and guided her career to the grave. While yes, Maddie is young and hopefully won't be held responsible for Sia's controversial endeavors, that content is still viewable to the masses. And Maddie Ziegler will always have portrayed the character music in Sia's greatest blender of all time.
Like, you couldn't even
I'm
look at me.
autistic. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, I'm autistic. I have autism, whatever you want to say.
No, but how did I not know this?
I'm pretty good at masking, putting on a face, pretending most of the time.
Yeah, but you don't... Like, you're not... Like, I've met autistic people.
Okay.
And you're, like, really emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, okay, Sia.
Don't forget to check out the link in the description box and use our code DEEPDIVE for 55% off your first month with Scentbird.